God says, "My child, listen to me now with your whole heart, because what I am about to speak is not meant to frighten you, but to protect what still can be protected." This is not a message wrapped in comfort. This is a warning wrapped in love. And love, when it warns, does not whisper, it speaks clearly. This is my final warning to your soulmate about the gray-haired man. Do not dismiss this because of how calm he appears. Do not ignore this because of how reasonable his words sound. Do not underestimate him because he carries himself like someone who has seen life and knows better. That is exactly how he enters. That is exactly how he erases. In the next 24 hours, he will attempt to erase something precious. Not with force. Not with violence. But with suggestion. With doubt. With quiet authority. With the dangerous tone of someone who sounds wise but is deeply threatened by what he cannot control. He is not after your body. He is not after money. He is not even after your soulmate's reputation. He is after identity. He is after connection. He is after the future that was forming without his permission. My child, there are people who do not destroy loudly. They destroy gently. They smile while they dismantle. They advise while they poison. They guide while they mislead. This man belongs to that kind. Your soulmate believes this man is harmless. Experienced. Maybe even helpful. That belief is the door he walks through. This is why I am intervening now. The gray-haired man did not appear suddenly. He has been watching quietly. Measuring. Studying. Waiting for the right moment, when your soulmate is tired, confused, emotionally vulnerable, or standing at the edge of a decision that could change everything. He waits for crossroads. He waits for doubt. He waits for moments when strength feels heavy. And now, the moment he waited for is here. In the next 24 hours, he will speak words that sound like concern but are rooted in fear. He will frame them as protection, but they are control. He will claim experience, but he is threatened by potential. He will say things like, "I've seen how this ends," or, "Trust me, this is not the right path," or, "You need to think practically." What he really means is, if you move forward, I lose influence. He sees something growing between you and your soulmate that he cannot dominate. He senses a bond that does not require his approval. He recognizes a future where his voice is no longer needed. And that terrifies him. So he plans to erase before it fully forms. Erase confidence. Erase clarity. Erase courage. Erase the truth your soulmate is finally beginning to feel. My child, erasure does not always look like destruction. Sometimes it looks like delay. Sometimes it looks like confusion. Sometimes it looks like someone convincing you to abandon what your heart already knows. That is why this warning is urgent. Your soulmate may not realize what is happening in the moment. Influence is most powerful when it feels familiar. When it feels safe. When it feels like advice rather than interference. But I see the intent beneath the words. This man does not want your soulmate to choose freely. He wants them to choose small. He wants them to choose fear. He wants them to choose a version of life that keeps him relevant. And I will not allow it. I am speaking to you now because your awareness matters. Even if you do not confront him. Even if you do not speak a word. Awareness itself disrupts manipulation. When light enters, shadows lose their shape. You may feel a strange heaviness today. A restlessness. A sense that something important is approaching. That is not anxiety, it is discernment awakening. Your spirit recognizes the timing before your mind can explain it. Do not ignore that feeling. In the next 24 hours, pay attention to shifts. Pay attention to conversations that feel off. Pay attention to advice that discourages growth instead of nurturing it. The gray-haired man will not show anger. He will show certainty. And certainty, when misused, is dangerous. I want you to understand something deeply. This warning is not about panic. It is about positioning. When you know what is coming, you are not shaken by it. You are not powerless here. Your soulmate's destiny cannot be erased, but it can be delayed if fear is allowed to decide. And delay is often the enemy's favorite weapon. Because delayed dreams grow tired. Delayed truth grows quiet. Delayed courage grows heavy. That is why I am limiting the window. 24 hours. Not because I am weak. Not because I lack control. But because free will still exists, and timing reveals intention. What your soulmate chooses to listen to in these hours will expose what they are ready to release and what they are still afraid to protect. Do not try to control this moment. Do not try to interfere emotionally. Your role is not to argue. Your role is to stay grounded, calm, and observant. Peace is your shield right now. If your soulmate grows distant, do not chase. If they grow quiet, do not panic. If they seem conflicted, do not pressure. Pressure feeds manipulation. Calm dissolves it. I am already working behind the scenes. Conversations are being interrupted. Words are being softened. Intentions are being exposed internally, even if not outwardly. Your soulmate will feel something during or after speaking with this man, a tightness, a discomfort, a sense of unease they cannot fully explain. That is my voice stirring discernment. Do not dismiss it if they mention it. Validate the feeling without attacking the person. Truth grows when it feels safe. This warning is not meant to create division between you and your soulmate. It is meant to protect the space between you. That space is sacred. It is where trust is built. It is where futures form. The gray-haired man knows that if he controls the narrative now, he controls the outcome later. That is why he moves with urgency disguised as wisdom. But hear me clearly, my child, no one who needs to erase your future is meant to guide it. No one who fears your growth deserves authority over your choices. No one who benefits from your doubt has your best interest at heart. You are not imagining this. You are not overreacting. You are being warned because you are valuable. This is the final warning because the line has been drawn. Influence ends where awareness begins. His access is closing. His words are losing power. And he knows it. Remain steady. Remain prayerful. Remain close to me. What happens in the next 24 hours will not destroy you, it will reveal what must be removed so that what is real can remain. I am watching. I am intervening. And I am protecting what is yours. This warning has been spoken. The light is on. The outcome will not favor deception. Stay with me. My beloved child, now that the warning has been spoken, I will remove the mask. Because fear loses its power when truth is clearly named. What you sensed but could not explain, I will now explain gently, firmly, and completely. The gray-haired man is not dangerous because of his age or appearance. He is dangerous because of how he learned to survive. He learned long ago that control does not require force. It requires influence. It requires positioning oneself as the voice of reason while quietly feeding fear. This man has lived long enough to see people rise beyond him, and that has wounded his pride. He does not hate your soulmate personally. His threat is not emotional attachment. His threat is relevance. He feels himself becoming unnecessary, unheard, replaced by a future that does not need his permission. And instead of growing, he interferes. This is a pattern. I have seen him before you ever noticed him. I have watched how he enters people's lives at moments of vulnerability, when someone is tired of struggling, uncertain about decisions, or standing at the edge of change. He positions himself as stability when what he truly offers is stagnation. He says things like, "I'm only trying to protect you." But what he means is, "Stay where I can still reach you." He speaks of consequences, but only the ones that support his fear. He speaks of realism, but only the kind that kills courage. He speaks of experience, but never of hope. Your soulmate has listened to him because the words sound grounded, calm, sensible. But truth that lacks light eventually suffocates the soul. This man has a history of erasing people slowly. Not physically. Not dramatically. But internally. He convinces them to doubt their instincts. He teaches them to mistrust joy. He frames dreams as impractical. He normalizes settling and calls it maturity. Many who crossed his path did not realize what they lost until years later, when they looked back and wondered why life felt smaller than it once promised. He does not shout. He does not threaten. He does not demand. He redirects. And redirection, when unnoticed, can change an entire life. Your soulmate believes they are choosing freely when they listen to him. That is the most dangerous part. Influence feels harmless when it is familiar. Especially when it comes from someone who seems composed while you feel uncertain. But I want you to hear this clearly, certainty does not equal truth. The gray-haired man's certainty comes from fear. Fear of being irrelevant, fear of losing control, fear of watching others succeed where he settled. He recognizes something in your soulmate that he lost in himself long ago, openness to possibility. Courage that has not yet been crushed. A future that is still unwritten. And that unsettles him. That is why he aims not at actions, but at beliefs. If he can make your soulmate believe that choosing growth is dangerous, they will choose safety. If he can make them believe love is risky, they will choose isolation. If he can make them believe delay is wisdom, he will buy himself more influence. This is not coincidence. This is not misunderstanding. This is intent shaped by fear. But listen to me now, my child, because here is where his power ends. He does not know everything. He does not see what I see. He does not understand that your soulmate's destiny does not depend on his approval, nor on his experience, nor on his warnings. Destiny is not erased by opinion. It is only delayed by doubt. And doubt is losing its grip. Your soulmate has already begun to feel something shift. A discomfort they cannot name. A tension after conversations with him. A sense that something feels wrong even when words sound right. That discomfort is discernment waking up. You may notice that after speaking with this man, your soulmate feels drained rather than reassured. Heavy rather than clear. Conflicted rather than resolved. That is because truth energizes, while manipulation exhausts. Peace does not leave residue. Truth does not leave confusion. This man's advice always leaves residue. I am also revealing this to you because you need to stop blaming yourself for moments of doubt that crept into your heart. Some of those doubts were not born from your weakness, they were planted through influence that seeped into your shared space. You felt shifts without knowing why. You sensed hesitation without understanding the source. You questioned timing, clarity, momentum. You were not imagining it. Influence spreads quietly when it is unchecked. But now, the spread has stopped. I am cutting the thread between his fear and your soulmate's decisions. Not by force, but by awareness. Once someone sees manipulation, it can no longer function the same way. The gray-haired man senses this. That is why his urgency has increased. That is why he is pushing now. That is why this moment matters. He feels the loss of control approaching. That is why he may attempt one final, heavy conversation. One final push framed as wisdom. One final attempt to redirect before influence expires. This is why I warned you ahead of time. You do not need to confront him. Confrontation feeds his need for importance. Silence paired with clarity is far more powerful. Your soulmate does not need to argue with him. They only need to not obey fear. I am strengthening their inner voice now. Even if they cannot articulate it yet, they are beginning to trust themselves again. And that is something this man cannot tolerate, because people who trust themselves no longer need his guidance. My child, I want you to release one more thing, the idea that age equals wisdom. Wisdom is not measured in years lived. It is measured in truth embraced. Some grow old without growing honest. Some grow experienced without growing kind. Some grow calm without growing whole. This man grew cautious, not wise. And caution, when it replaces faith, becomes a cage. I am not exposing this to make you angry. Anger clouds judgment. I am exposing this to make you steady. Steadiness allows you to see clearly without reacting emotionally. You may feel compassion for him, and that is not wrong. But compassion does not require obedience. Understanding does not require agreement. You are allowed to see his wounds without letting them shape your future. The next stage will be critical, because now that you understand who he is, I will show you what he intends to erase if allowed to proceed. Stay close to me. Stay grounded. Stay calm. Awareness is now on your side. The mask has been removed. The influence is weakening. And the truth is beginning to take its rightful place. I am with you. My beloved child, now that you understand who the gray-haired man truly is, it is time I reveal what he intends to erase, because his danger is not in his presence, but in his purpose. And purpose, when hidden, can do great harm. Listen slowly. Let every word settle. He is not trying to erase a moment. He is not trying to erase a conversation. He is not trying to erase a single decision. He is trying to erase a becoming. He sees your soulmate standing at the edge of transformation. Not loud transformation. Not dramatic change. But the quiet kind, the kind where a person finally begins to trust their inner voice, to choose with courage instead of fear, to step into a future that does not need external permission. That is what threatens him. So what he plans to erase is not something visible at first. It is something internal. Something sacred. He plans to erase clarity. Clarity is dangerous to manipulators. Because clarity asks questions. Clarity recognizes patterns. Clarity notices when advice benefits the speaker more than the listener. Once clarity forms, influence loses its grip. This is why his words are designed to blur, not illuminate. He will say things that sound reasonable but leave your soulmate more confused than before. He will introduce what-ifs that have no foundation except fear. He will magnify risks while minimizing possibilities. He will frame uncertainty as danger and hesitation as wisdom. And slowly, if unchecked, clarity begins to fade. My child, confusion is not neutral. Confusion favors control. The second thing he intends to erase is courage. Not courage in the sense of bravery under pressure, but the quieter courage it takes to choose what feels right even when it feels unfamiliar. The courage to move forward without guarantees. The courage to trust love, intuition, and timing. He knows your soulmate has this courage rising again. He senses it in the way they question him now, even subtly. He feels it in the way they no longer accept his words as absolute truth. So he will attempt to remind them of past failures. Past disappointments. Past moments when hope did not work out. He will say, remember what happened last time you trusted your feelings, not to protect them, but to paralyze them. Fear dressed as memory is a powerful weapon. If courage weakens, progress stalls. The third thing he wants to erase is connection. Not only connection with you, but connection with self. Connection requires vulnerability. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to be seen. This man survives on emotional distance. He is comfortable when others stay guarded, doubtful, and undecided. He will subtly question the depth of your bond. He will frame closeness as distraction. He will suggest independence when what he really means is isolation. He will imply that emotional investment is risky at this stage, that it can wait, that now is not the right time. Delay is his favorite tool. Because delayed connection becomes weakened connection. And weakened connection becomes easier to redirect. You may notice your soulmate feeling torn, wanting closeness with you, yet feeling pressure to pull back, just to think. That push and pull is not organic. It is induced. And I am exposing it now so it loses power. The fourth thing he intends to erase is truth. Not facts, but inner truth. Inner truth is the quiet knowing that says, this feels right, even when logic cannot fully explain it. It is the inner alignment that brings peace rather than anxiety. It is the sense of direction that does not need external validation. This man cannot tolerate that kind of truth because it does not answer to him. So he will replace truth with noise. Too many opinions. Too many warnings. Too many hypothetical disasters. Too many reasons to wait. Noise makes truth hard to hear. And once truth is drowned out, dependence forms. My child, I want you to recognize something important. The gray-haired man does not need your soulmate to believe him completely. He only needs them to doubt themselves slightly. That is enough to slow destiny. But destiny slowed is not destiny stopped. Because I am present. The fifth thing, and listen very carefully here, is what frightens him the most. He intends to erase decision. Not by forbidding it. Not by opposing it openly. But by stretching indecision until momentum dies. He will encourage more time. He will encourage more thought. He will encourage waiting for a better moment. But better moments rarely arrive when courage is postponed. He understands that once your soulmate decides, truly decides, his influence ends. Because decisive people no longer seek permission. They move forward with conviction. This is why the next 24 hours matter. Not because a final act will occur, but because a direction will be reinforced. If your soulmate leans into fear now, fear will become familiar again. If they lean into clarity now, clarity will strengthen. This is the crossroads. You may wonder, why is this happening now? Because your soulmate is closer than ever to choosing alignment over approval. Because growth is imminent. Because influence senses when its time is ending. That is when manipulation becomes urgent. I need you to understand something deeply, my child. Erasure only works when it is unnoticed. Once seen, it weakens. Once named, it loses precision. Once understood, it becomes obvious. You seeing this already protects you. You may feel anger rising again as you realize how much has been quietly interfered with. That anger is understandable. But do not let it become confrontation. Confrontation gives manipulators a stage. Your strength is non-reactive clarity. Remain calm. Remain observant. Remain rooted. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to persuade anyone. Truth does not require defense when it is lived quietly. Your soulmate spirit is already resisting erasure. Even if they cannot articulate it, they feel it. They feel the internal tug of war. They feel the exhaustion after listening to him. They feel the relief when they pull away. That relief is not guilt. It is alignment returning. I am also restoring something in you during this process. You are learning to trust what you sense without needing confirmation. You are learning that peace has a texture, and fear has a tone. You are learning to recognize interference without dramatizing it. This wisdom will stay with you long after this moment passes. Now hear this promise: what is meant for you cannot be erased by another person's fear. What is growing in truth cannot be undone by manipulation. What is aligned with me cannot be delayed forever. The gray-haired man's window is closing. Influence fades when exposure rises. In the next part, I will show you what must happen within this limited window, and how protection is activated without chaos, without confrontation, and without harm. Until then, stay steady. Do not rush emotions. Do not chase reassurance. Do not let urgency become anxiety. I am holding the greater picture. What he plans to erase will not succeed, because light has already entered. Stay with me. My beloved child, now we arrive at the narrow window, the space where timing carries weight, and awareness becomes action without noise. This is not a moment for fear. This is a moment for precision. What happens in this window does not require confrontation, argument, or force. It requires alignment. The next 24 hours are not dangerous because something violent will happen. They are important because direction will be chosen, either consciously or unconsciously. And once direction is chosen, momentum follows. This is why I am speaking with clarity now. In this window, the gray-haired man will attempt one of two things. Sometimes both. First, he will attempt urgency. Second, he will attempt delay. Urgency to rush your soulmate into a fearful conclusion. Delay to postpone a courageous decision until strength fades. Both lead to the same outcome if unnoticed. Erasure through indecision. He will not announce his intent. He will frame his words as concern, realism, protection. He may say there is no need to decide now, or that time will make things clearer, or that big choices should wait. These statements are not always wrong, but in this moment, they are misused. There is a difference between patience and postponement. There is a difference between wisdom and fear wearing wisdom's clothing. Your soulmate spirit will feel that difference even if the mind hesitates. That is why the instruction for these 24 hours is not about doing more. It is about removing interference. Here is what must happen quietly, internally, without spectacle. First, silence must be honored. Not avoidance. Not withdrawal. But intentional quiet. This is not the time for long debates, explanations, or defending feelings. Words multiply confusion when clarity is still settling. Silence allows discernment to rise. If your soulmate feels pressured to explain themselves, to you or to anyone, encourage space without distance. Presence without interrogation. Calm without demands. Silence is not weakness here. Silence is insulation. Second, the body must be listened to. Fear speaks loudly in the mind, but truth speaks softly in the body. Tightness, heaviness, restlessness after conversations, these are signals. Peace, steadiness, groundedness, these are confirmations. If your soulmate leaves a conversation with the gray-haired man feeling drained, uneasy, or confused, that is not something to rationalize away. That is guidance. I speak through peace. If they leave a conversation feeling calmer, clearer, and more anchored in themselves, that is alignment. Encourage them to notice how they feel, not what they think, after interactions. The body does not lie to maintain appearances. Third, external opinions must be minimized. This is critical. The gray-haired man thrives in environments where many voices compete. Conflicting advice creates noise, and noise weakens resolve. During these 24 hours, fewer voices are safer than many. This does not mean isolation from love. It means protection from interference. Encourage simplicity. Routine. Familiar grounding actions. Eating regularly. Sleeping if possible. Staying away from emotionally charged discussions that do not need to happen right now. Destiny does not require drama to move forward. Fourth, truth must be allowed to rise without force. Your soulmate may feel the urge to figure everything out immediately. To analyze. To weigh every possible outcome. That urge comes from anxiety, not clarity. Clarity does not rush. Truth does not shout. If questions arise, let them rest. If emotions surface, let them pass through without trying to label them too quickly. The answers that matter will come when the noise settles. This is not avoidance. This is trust. Trust that the right understanding will surface without being hunted. Fifth, and listen carefully now, no decision made from fear will be blessed. Fear-driven decisions feel urgent, heavy, and constricting. They shrink possibility. They promise safety but deliver regret. I am not asking your soulmate to decide everything in these 24 hours. I am asking them to decide what they will not allow. They must decide not to allow fear to lead. They must decide not to allow manipulation to guide. They must decide not to abandon inner truth for external approval. That decision alone changes everything. Now let me speak directly to you, my child, because your role matters more than you realize. Your calm is medicine right now. Not reassurance filled with promises. Not emotional arguments. Not attempts to persuade. Just calm presence. When you remain grounded, you become a reference point of safety. When others push urgency, your steadiness reveals the contrast. When manipulation tries to accelerate or delay, your peace exposes the distortion. You do not need to say, "This man is dangerous." You do not need to accuse. You do not need to defend the connection. Truth does not need defense when it is real. Simply be yourself, present, honest, steady. That alone weakens false influence. During this window, you may notice one of 3 signs appearing clearly. These are confirmations, not threats. The first sign is discomfort intensifying around the gray-haired man. Not anger, discomfort. A growing sense of something is off that can no longer be ignored. The second sign is resistance. Your soulmate may feel an unexpected urge to push back internally, even silently. A sense of, "I don't agree," forming without needing justification. The third sign is relief when distance is created. Relief is alignment's signature. If stepping away from his influence brings calm, that is confirmation. These signs are my intervention working through awareness. Now, I must also be clear about what not to do. Do not confront the gray-haired man directly. Confrontation feeds his need to matter. Do not attempt to prove manipulation. Proof-seeking invites debate. Do not rush emotional ultimatums. Ultimatums born from fear create resentment. Protection here is quiet, strategic, clean. There is a reason I chose awareness over exposure at this stage. Exposure will come later, if needed, but awareness neutralizes influence immediately. You may wonder what happens if this warning is ignored. Understand this carefully: ignoring does not mean disaster. It means delay. Delay of clarity. Delay of peace. Delay of momentum. And delay costs energy. I am not threatening consequences. I am revealing patterns. When fear leads, paths narrow. When truth leads, paths open. Your soulmate is capable of choosing alignment. I would not speak this warning if they were not ready. Readiness is what triggered urgency, not danger. That is why I am confident. I am also placing boundaries around what the gray-haired man can access during this window. His words will lose sharpness. His certainty will feel hollow. His urgency will feel exaggerated. These are not accidents. Influence fades when authority is questioned internally. Finally, I want to seal this window with a promise. No matter what is said, no matter what is attempted, nothing essential will be erased. Identity rooted in truth cannot be removed. Connection grounded in honesty cannot be destroyed. Destiny aligned with me cannot be stolen. At worst, it can be tested. And testing reveals strength. This window will pass. And when it does, clarity will be stronger than it was before. The gray-haired man's hold will weaken, not because he was defeated loudly, but because he was seen. Seeing ends manipulation. Remain calm. Remain present. Remain close to me. The next part will bring resolution, not drama, not chaos, but separation of influence, restoration of clarity, and a blessing that seals what has been protected. You are not late. You are not powerless. You are exactly where you need to be. Stay with me. My beloved child, now hear me carefully, because this is where fear finally loosens its grip, and truth steps forward without resistance. What is happening now is not chaos. It is separation. Separation does not always look dramatic. Often, it looks quiet. A gradual loss of influence. A voice that once sounded powerful becoming background noise. A presence that once felt authoritative now feeling distant, irrelevant, strangely small. This is how protection works when it is guided by wisdom. The gray-haired man is not being fought. He is being removed from the center. And anything removed from the center loses power. Your soulmate may not even realize when the shift completes. One moment, they cared deeply about his opinion. The next, they notice they no longer feel the need to explain themselves to him. That is not rebellion. That is restoration. Restoration of inner authority. I want you to understand something important. Influence breaks not when someone is exposed, but when someone no longer seeks permission. And that permission has been quietly withdrawn. The gray-haired man will sense this. Not consciously, perhaps, but energetically. He may attempt one final effort, a message, a reminder, a comment meant to reassert relevance. But it will land differently now. It will feel forced. Out of place. Too late. Because clarity has already taken root. Now, let me speak about what is being restored. First, clarity of self. Your soulmate is remembering who they were before doubt was planted. Before hesitation was encouraged. Before fear was framed as wisdom. This remembering is subtle but powerful. It shows up as confidence without arrogance. Calm without avoidance. Decisions made without apology. Second, clarity of connection. When manipulation fades, what remains becomes obvious. False bonds weaken. True bonds strengthen. Your connection, if it is built on honesty, presence, and mutual growth, will feel lighter now. Less strained. Less defended. Truth does not need constant explanation. Third, clarity of direction. The future no longer feels foggy. It may still be unfolding, but it is no longer blocked. The sense of being stuck begins to dissolve. Movement returns, not rushed movement, but steady steps forward. This is what happens when interference is removed. Now let me address a fear you may still carry. You may wonder, what if damage was already done? Listen closely. Awareness interrupts patterns retroactively. The moment something is seen clearly, it loses the ability to shape the future the way it once could. Even past influence loses its hold when it is recognized for what it was. Nothing essential was taken. Nothing irreplaceable was lost. Nothing sacred was broken. What was tested has emerged stronger. I am now placing a boundary around your soulmate's path. This boundary is not visible, but it is firm. Those who approach with manipulation will feel resistance. Those who approach with control will feel blocked. Those who approach with false authority will feel unseen. But those who approach with honesty will feel welcomed. Those who approach with love will feel safe. Those who approach with respect will feel recognized. This boundary is not punishment. It is discernment activated. And now, my child, I want to speak directly to you, not just as a witness, but as a participant in this restoration. Your role is not to monitor. Your role is not to protect aggressively. Your role is not to remind, warn, or replay what happened. Your role is to live truthfully. When you live truthfully, you anchor reality. When you remain emotionally regulated, you create safety. When you trust instead of testing, you allow connection to deepen naturally. Love does not need to be guarded by fear to survive. If questions arise later, let them be addressed calmly, without accusation. If clarity unfolds in stages, allow it. Growth does not always arrive fully formed, it arrives in layers. Be patient with the process, but confident in the outcome. Now let me tell you what happens next. The influence of the gray-haired man will continue to fade, even without confrontation. He may move his focus elsewhere. He may retreat quietly. He may rationalize the distance. But the bond he once attempted to create will no longer feed him. People who manipulate rely on attention. When attention shifts inward, they lose relevance. This chapter is closing, not with noise, but with dignity. And as it closes, something else opens. Peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances, but the steady peace that comes from alignment. The kind of peace that allows laughter to return, ease to return, trust to rebuild naturally. I am also blessing your soulmate with discernment going forward. What was once missed will now be noticed. What once confused will now be questioned. This does not make them suspicious, it makes them wise. Wisdom is calm. Wisdom is observant. Wisdom does not rush. Now receive this final blessing, my child. May confusion lift from your heart. May clarity settle into your mind. May fear loosen its hold on your thoughts. May truth feel familiar again. May your soulmate walk forward without needing approval from voices that do not honor their essence. May your connection grow lighter, not heavier. May decisions be guided by peace, not pressure. I bless the days ahead with protection you do not have to manage. I bless your nights with rest you do not have to earn. I bless your future with alignment that does not require struggle. Nothing meant for you will be erased. Nothing true will be taken. Nothing sacred will be lost. You were warned because you were valued. You were protected because you were chosen. You were guided because you listened. This chapter is complete. Walk forward now, not watching over your shoulder, not bracing for loss, but carrying clarity with quiet confidence. I am with you. And what I protect remains protected. My beloved child, this is not another warning. This is completion. What needed to be revealed has already been revealed. What needed to be separated has already been separated. Now what remains is the gentle but powerful work of settling, the soul returning to its rightful place, the heart remembering its natural rhythm, the future opening without resistance. You may feel a strange calm now. Or perhaps a quiet tiredness. Or even a softness that feels unfamiliar after so much vigilance. Do not question it. This is not weakness. This is release. When a season of alertness ends, the body exhales before the mind understands why. Let it. The influence that once hovered has lost its grip because it was never meant to stay. Some people are allowed near you only long enough to reveal what must be protected. Once that lesson is complete, they lose access, not by force, but by design. You are witnessing design unfold. Your soulmate is no longer standing at a crossroads the way they were before. The confusion that made them vulnerable has thinned. The noise that once clouded discernment has softened. Even if they cannot yet name what changed, they will feel it in how decisions come more easily now. There is less second-guessing. Less explaining. Less fear of choosing wrong. That is not coincidence. That is alignment returning. I want you to understand something deeply now. Not every threat is meant to be fought, and not every danger is meant to be defeated publicly. Some are meant to be outgrown. When something can no longer reach you, it no longer matters how powerful it once seemed. The gray-haired man's relevance has ended because relevance is granted by access. And access has been closed. Quietly. Completely. You do not need to revisit this story again. Do not replay it in your thoughts searching for missed signs or alternate outcomes. Reflection that brings wisdom is healthy, rumination that reopens fear is not. What was meant to be learned has been learned. From here forward, your task is not protection, it is presence. Be present with your own emotions without judging them. Be present with your soulmate without monitoring them. Be present with the unfolding of your life without trying to control every step. Presence anchors safety more effectively than vigilance ever could. There may be moments ahead where echoes try to return, small doubts, old fears, passing thoughts that ask, what if? When that happens, do not engage them. Gently remind yourself, what was real did not disappear. What was false lost its power. Truth does not need to shout to remain true. You are entering a season where trust must be rebuilt, not because it was broken beyond repair, but because it was stretched. Trust that has been tested becomes deeper when allowed to rest. Give yourself permission to rest. Give your soulmate permission to grow without being watched. Give the connection permission to evolve naturally. I am also healing something quieter now, something that does not get spoken about often. The part of you that learned to stay alert. The part of you that learned to read between lines. The part of you that learned to brace for interference. That part served you. Honor it. But it does not need to lead anymore. You are allowed to soften. Softness does not mean you are unprotected. It means protection has moved beyond your effort. What I guard does not require constant attention from you. There is a new rhythm coming, one marked by steadiness rather than intensity. You may notice fewer emotional highs and lows. More consistency. More emotional neutrality. That is not emptiness. That is balance. Balance is where clarity thrives. As this settles, something else will quietly emerge, confidence without force. Not the kind that proves itself. The kind that simply exists. You will notice you are less reactive. Less pulled into emotional spirals. Less affected by other people's moods or opinions. That is growth. Your soulmate will feel it too. Not because you changed dramatically, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours to carry. When one person releases fear, it gives the other permission to do the same. This is how healing spreads, silently. Now hear me carefully as I speak about the future. The path ahead is not without challenges, but it is no longer distorted. Challenges that come now will be honest ones, clear, direct, meant to strengthen rather than confuse. You will recognize the difference immediately. Confusion drains. Truth energizes. If something ahead feels heavy in a way that shrinks you, pause. If it feels challenging but expansive, continue. Your discernment is sharper now. Trust it. You will not be easily misled again, not because you are guarded, but because you are awake. I am also restoring joy in small ways. Moments that feel light without explanation. Laughter that surprises you. A sense of ease in ordinary routines. Do not overlook these moments. They are signs of safety returning. Joy returns where fear once lived. And finally, my child, receive this closing blessing, not as words, but as permission. Permission to move forward without looking back. Permission to stop preparing for threats that are no longer present. Permission to believe that peace can last. I bless your heart with steadiness. I bless your mind with clarity. I bless your connection with honesty and ease. I bless your future with alignment that does not require struggle. May you recognize manipulation quickly and release it without drama. May you recognize truth instantly and welcome it without fear. May you walk forward knowing that what is meant for you does not need to be chased or defended. Nothing important was erased. Everything essential remains. What tried to interfere has passed. This chapter is sealed. Not with fear. Not with conflict. But with understanding. Rest now, my beloved child. What lies ahead is not something you must survive. It is something you are meant to live. I am with you, not only in warnings, but in peace.